everybody's attention and you do number one. Okay. Happy Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving. Woo, 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 woo. It's beginning to look a lot like, or a little bit like Christmas. Right? Okay, here come our announcements.
Cab activity this week is Prairie Lights at the Dyke Arboretum on Saturday, December 2nd at 5:30 to 7. This is a come-and-go event. Present your Hesston College student ID and get in free.
Okay. And after seeing the Prairie Lights, come and see a Christmas Carol presented by Hesston College Performing Arts. This is on Saturday, December 2nd at 7 p.m. right here in the sanctuary. A Christmas Carol has been one of the world's most beloved holiday stories for over 100 years. This new adaptation by Jerome McDonough, combines Charles Dickens' words with open staging, a fresh, exciting script, and beautiful music by the Bel Canto Singers and the Global Voices Choir. Cast members will form a living cyclorama, panoramic view before which all scenes are acted. Admission is open to the public. Students who attend will earn 5 CE points.
This is a reminder to those who have signed up for the service project. See Prairie Lights with older friends. It is on Tuesday, November 28th, and orientation starts at 5:15 p.m.
That's with me, guys. All right, thank you. Senior cohort of the School of Management presents the Conference on Wednesday in 2 days, November 29, at 2:30 to 3:45 in the Community Center, just across the hall of Hesston Mennonite Church. Come learn about the intangibles of business for the greater good. Students that attend will get 5 CE points.
The end of semester is near. December 8th is the Plaid Tidings, our end of semester celebration. Enjoy a semi-formal dinner in the dining hall. Michelle Hershberger reading Twas the Night Before Christmas, holiday activities in the Lark's Nest, and ice skating in Wichita. More details to come. If you have questions, contact a Student Life staff member.
If you want to set up a time to visit with the campus pastor or counselor, you can scan the QR code or go to myheston.edu under students to schedule that time. And now, announcements from athletics.
Good morning, everyone. Over the break, both teams went undefeated, men's and women's basketball, each won 2 games. They both beat Bethel College, which we love to see. And then the men's team beat Ottawa, and the women's team beat Kansas Wesleyan. The girls' team play again tomorrow night, 5 o'clock against Haskell. The boys will play Wednesday night at 7 against Haskell. And then this weekend, they'll both play Friday night at 5 and 7, and then the guys will play again at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to all of you who turned in a gratitude photo, and they were deeply meaningful to me. Please enjoy, and also preemptively a thank you of much gratitude to our students who are sharing today. So first, our gratitude photos.
This year, at least 12 states have passed legislation to limit or ban gender-affirming healthcare for young people, adding to several already on the books. My name is Joy Jones, and today I will inform you about the ban on gender-affirming healthcare for youth throughout the U.S. This includes hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and some types of surgeries. My oldest brother is transgender, and I have seen how much he's struggled to receive gender-affirming care as an adult, and I can't imagine how hard it can be for these young kids. And while I know not everyone will agree with this topic, I think everyone should learn about it because you never know what the people close to you are going through. In this speech, I will tell you about Texas's ban on gender-affirming healthcare and its specific guidelines, all the states that have banned gender-affirming care, and the states that are working to protect transgender care. I will start with Texas's ban. The ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy in Texas will go into effect despite the legal fight. Texas families and doctors sued the state in July with the hope of blocking the law, saying that it violates the Texas Constitution and strips parents' rights to make decisions about their children's health care. The Texas Tribune goes on to say that Texas joined 19 other states attempting to ban the use of transition-related care. This ban is popular among Republican voters, and 85% of the state supports some restrictions on this health care. In addition to Texas, at least 19 other states are attempting to ban gender-affirming health care. A total of 22 states now have restrictions on gender-affirming care, and here are some of the exemptions to that ban. Multiple states, including Alabama and Florida, have said that the only exemptions are a medically verifiable disorder of sex development, including chromosome disorders, and needed treatment from gender-affirming related injuries. According to MedPage Today, some states, including Florida and Idaho, enacting care outside of these exemptions, physicians can face serious jail time, including 5 or 10 years in prison and fined up to $5,000. I've told you about some states that have placed the ban on what their exemptions are. Now I'm going to tell you about the states that are working to protect trans youth. Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, New Mexico, Minnesota, and Missouri have passed bills designed to shield transgender health care through legal protections, health care coverage, and access. The Minnesota legislature passed protections for youth and parents who seek health care for the providers who give it. Governor Tim Walz, a second-term Democrat at an LGBTQ rights rally, said, "We are going lead on this issue. And I want to make note, not only do you belong here, you are needed here. You're a part of the fabric that makes Minnesota the best place in the country to live." California just passed a similar law calling itself a refuge state. Maryland is broadening its Medicare coverage. The Maryland Trans Equity Act goes over the kind of treatments covered with that new Medicare. NPR states that providing this care decreases rates of anxiety and depression within youth. While I didn't mention all of the states that are striving to protect trans youth, the ones I did mention offered a lot of information as to what other states are doing. Today, I have told you about Texas's ban, the states limiting gender-affirming care, and the states protecting trans youth. I hope that everyone has learned something, whether about the bills being passed or the states around us. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Josh. This is Jamie. I'm the art professor. She's one of our art students. Jamie, everybody. Everybody? Jamie? All right, cool. I have a question and a challenge for you, and Jamie's going to help you kind of walk through it a little bit with one of her own pieces. So show of hands, applause, however you want to do it, thumbs up. When you walked through the front doors, you saw a bunch of pieces. How many of you stopped and looked at some of those pieces? Like physically, hey, what's this? Hey, what's this? Anybody? A handful, okay? We can go bowling, okay? You're my favorite people. If you didn't, no big deal. It's the difference between active viewing and passive viewing. Active is where you stand in front of a piece or listen to a piece of music or go to a play or sit down with somebody's cooking and you start to ask questions. Where did this come from? Where did it originate? What's the idea behind it? How did they make this thing? So you get a deeper level of understanding with it. The best thing you can do for anybody that creates anything is that, with the actual person. She was a little volunteered, a little voluntold to do this, but she volunteered one of her pieces. So to give you a little insight in what you could get and the level of depth that you can get with a piece whenever you actually interact with the people that are making the thing, that's why Jamie's here. So, ready? Kind of? Okay, so I'm going to kind of lead her a little bit. So what is this?
That is a self-portrait that I made on a digital program called Fire Alpaca. It is my face peeling off into noodles, if you cannot tell. Also, it's unfinished, so if you're like, that doesn't look finished, well, it's not. So, and really the meaning behind it was, if you don't know, I was adopted from China when I was 9 months old. I've lived here basically my entire life. And so it was really just about the disconnect I felt with growing up here, but still feeling somewhat foreign because of people's perceptions. Like one of my classmates a couple years ago was like, Jamie, did you play Squid Games when you were younger? And I was like, Isaac, we've known each other since we were 6. Did you play Squid Games? Also, I'm not Korean. What are you talking about? And so it's small things like that. And I was adopted by white parents as well, so feeling as though I didn't have any connection to my Chinese heritage, as well as just having that, otherness to me of outwardly I am Chinese, but like inwardly I've grown up in Hesston, Kansas. So, yeah.
There you go. So my challenge to you is the pieces that are out there, or anybody that you know that creates something, okay? And I see some of the folks in the room that made some of the pieces. Best thing you can do is grab them, pull them to the side, and just ask them questions. The answer might be, I had to make it for a class. But you can still go deeper than that. It's like, well, why did you choose this? Why did you choose that? What do you plan on doing? What's it going to look like when it's finished? Those sorts of things. And then you understand things on a deeper, deeper, deeper level, no matter who the creative is, and you're doing them a huge favor. There you go, people. Well done. Oh, tell us, please.
Also, the piece is called You Are What You Eat. That's just an abbreviation because I didn't want to save it on my computer as like 15,000 words. Yeah.
Thank you, folks. Everybody for Jamie.
Hello, I'm Hadassah Friesen, and I'm going to present a project I did in my Intro to Theater Design class. My project was based on costume design. So basically the idea was to take a fairy tale and put it into a concept for a stage version so that we could work on a costume design for that specific stage production. I chose Rumpelstilzchen, which is a German fairy tale, and I put it into a Paraguayan version. Basically, the plot is, it's about a girl who she says she can spin straw into gold, which a king demands her to do 3 nights in a row. She can't really do it, so a small man helps her to do it, demands her first child, she gets his right name, and she can keep the child, basically. The time I chose is 19th century in Paraguay. Like I said, the concept is it's a German fairy tale, but it pulls Paraguayan folklore and fashion into the story. We need to do research in order to understand what we're doing. And one important thing of my research is I found that Rumpelstilzchen is quite similar to a mythological creature in Paraguay, which we call Jatere. Both are small people and both are connected with the killing and vanishing of little children. So I put them both into one character for this piece. For inspiration, I wanted my costumes to feel as if you walk on leaves, or you see the sun, or you hear birds. Or we have a thing that blossoms or blooms in Paraguay, which is called flor de coco, and smells quite sweet, but at the same time earthy. For the costumes, first I pulled pictures that symbolize how we dress nowadays in Paraguay in remembrance of how it was back in the days in the 19th century. But then I realized, after some digging and some asking questions, that we actually dressed a bit differently, and it was much more natural colors. And I pulled from both ideas to influence my original designs. We need to do further research into the climate and the history and the context just to make the designs more authentic. So when it comes to the vestimenta or the clothing, I did even further research into the details and how specific parts of the clothing was made for the mestizos, as well as for the Spaniards, women and female and male. And then we also did a color palette. We either could pull a color palette or we could create one. I did both, and the idea was that these colors are shown throughout all of the designs and symbolize more or less what happens or the mood of the play. And these are my original designs. So the first one is the daughter of the farmer, La hija de campesino. It's very natural colors. The second one is the same actor. It's La esposa del español, which would be the wife of the Spaniard. The third one is El español, the Spaniard himself. And the fourth one is Rumpelstilzchen, or in my version, Jessie Jatere. And these are my sources. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Christian Ryan. I am in the same class as Hadassah, Introduction to Theater Design, and I focused on the scenic unit, or theatrical design, or set design. So first of all, what is a set? For some of you who don't, maybe not participate in theater as much as some of us, a set is basically the physical space the actors occupy, and it helps aid in telling the story. Or if you want to get super artsy, maybe it doesn't. For our specific class, the set we were meant to design, or the show we were meant to design a set for was a show called The Glass Menagerie. Quite a classic, famous show. And so once we get our show, we obviously have to research a lot about the show. You need to research the playwright, the person who wrote it, their life, their personal story. You have to understand the genre. You have to understand if there was a certain intent of the author when writing. And then we also have to research the show itself, obviously. We need to understand time period, location, et cetera, things about the character specifically. You must understand the space in which you are designing for. So in theater, obviously, not all stages are the same. There's tons of different types. So I chose mine to specifically be a proscenium stage, which is one of the most popular stages. And when you are reading a show, sometimes it's best to just read it without thinking. Just turn your brain off and read it like a book. And then when you come back and you start to read it again, what images immediately pop into your mind when you start thinking about how the author describes the space in which the characters live or work? So immediately after doing that, I take my visual inspiration that I have in my brain and I try to see what's out there in the real world. How can I take what's in my mind and find photos of it? Because I'll learn more details about it and other things. So in St. Louis, and also mentioned in the play, the common type of housing were this style of row house, which I did utilize in my set design. And then color, I wanted it to be based on the emotions I felt when reading the show. And it's interesting because a lot of my classmates chose very muted, dark colors. And this is what I interpreted, so it's all very subjective. These are some It's also important to find previous productions and previous examples of the show for a little inspiration that you could maybe steal from. And it's also important to find furniture pieces, find the time period. This Art Deco kind of feel was very important to my design. And finding a fireplace, I wanted a fireplace to be a key feature, so I researched a lot about fireplaces. And then as a designer, you have to be able to pitch your concept to a producer or a director. So, I mean, just because you design something doesn't mean they're going to actually use it. So you have to be able to put it in a format that's easily understood and that you can justify every choice you made. So this was my basic rendering. I am not an artist by any means, unless you might have something. Everyone's an artist, right? Everyone's an artist. So yeah, just notebook paper. I literally read the play and immediately just started jotting stuff down. And this is my slightly refined version. But you just want to get your ideas out there, your basic concept, and that's really when you start to refine it. So yeah, you start with a rendering, which is just the audience's perspective, super simple. And then we transitioned into, I might have skipped a slide, I don't remember. No, whoa. My rendering, the big controversial choice I made on my set design was I wanted it to be on a turntable, like a Lazy Susan. Excuse me, I just kicked the podium. You could turn it 180, basically, or 360, and it would have the two separate main rooms of the set, and my peers thought that was kind of a crazy choice. So I had to sit there and tell them why it wasn't crazy and why it was a good choice. Then I came up with my ground plan, which is to scale as much as possible iteration of my rendering. It's much more detailed, and I had to put a key with all my furniture pieces that I wanted. Yeah. And then front elevations are the specific, more detailed designs of things like walls. So if I have somebody else building it, I may simply be the designer. If I'm outsourcing the building, I need that builder to be able to actually create it to my standards. So this is my fireplace, which I wanted to be a key feature, as well as the row houses, which would create my background. So yeah, in conclusion, any design or any pitch, I guess, this kind of gets into the sales world. It needs to be clear. It needs to be able to be justified. And it has to be appealing to whatever your audience is. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, and because we have a couple minutes, I'm going to set up Kaylee's thing. Wow, Jamie and Joy and Christian and Hadassah, thank you. And I know many more of you have done outstanding projects as well, and I want to say thank you for that. This last piece we will see is something that I think almost every single person does here at Hesston College. We call it Heilsgeschichte in Biblit, and Kaylee Phillips has very generously allowed us to see the very beginning of hers, which is creation and fall. People tell the Bible story. It takes about 1 hour, and it's completely from memory. So here is Kaylee doing Hiles.
My name is Kaylee Phillips. Today is November 21st, 2023. God created order out of chaos with the spoken word of God. All creation was good. Unfortunately, sin enters the world. It breaks the four relationships between us and God, us and others, us and ourselves, and us and all creation. There are four false stories that interpret the breakage of these four relationships perfectly. The first one is Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve broke the relationship between themselves and God because they disobeyed God by eating the forbidden fruit. The next relationship they broke was between them and themselves because they were seen as iniquity within the shame of themselves. The third relationship was between them and others because Adam blamed Eve. And the last relationship they broke was between them and all creation because childbearing was painful and farming was hard. The next false story is Cain and Abel, which also breaks all four relationships and is a story about murder. Third false story is Noah and the ark, and this displays the perfect way of breaking a relationship between God and all creation because God sent the flood and wipes out all the creation except for Noah and his family in the ark. The last false story is the Tower of Babel, which also demonstrates a good breakage between God and ourselves because they wanted to be like God and build a tower high, and in the result, it changed the language so they couldn't understand each other. The pattern shown in these four false stories is pride, violence, and pride. There's three questions asked throughout the whole entire Bible. What is the sin problem? What is God doing to solve the sin problem? And how faithfully are God's people responding to the sin problem? God's solution to the sin problem is to create a children covenant shalom mixed people group out of all people groups. We then head into matriarchs and patriarchs in the year 2000.
You'll have to wait in suspense for the rest of the story, or ask someone in Biblit. Again, thank you so much. On Friday, we'll spend most of the time hearing from Larry, Riley, and Jessica about their time at the United Nations, and we might see a couple more little bitty short Hiles clips. You all are wonderful. Have a blessed